Hey everybody, welcome back to the studio. I hope you're all doing fantastic, making a lot of music and having a good time doing it. Today we're going to talk about recording drums with one microphone. This is still a hot topic. I get this question a lot, so I thought this would be the perfect time to make some updated videos on that topic. And since this year we've actually recorded a few songs with only one mic on the kit, I figured why not start with those songs, talking about where the mics were placed, some of what makes capturing a full kit difficult with one mic, and then maybe a few ways to augment that to get more out of your sound. But everything we're going to do is going to be in the context of music and how our one mic drum sound fits in a song. Let's start off with the My 67 video. This is a song Ernesto and I did a while back, recorded the entire song with only the Roswell Pro Audio Mini K67X, including just one mic on the drums. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put links in the description, but let's take a quick look at that microphone setup. And first up, drums. Got the Ludwig Classic Maples, 20-inch kick, 13 rack, 18-inch floor tom, going big on this one, but we've got some towels on them to deaden them up. The same thing with the Superphonic snare. Got a bunch of paper towels taped to the top of it, nice and tubby. Got all Peisty pies. And for the main attraction, the single Mini K67X. We're roughly 4-ish feet in front of the kit, and this is about 5 feet up, and it is pointed, oops, I just moved it, I just wrecked the whole session, directly at the snare. This is going to be the entire drum sound. No kick mic, no overhead, no toms, no nothing. We're going to get our entire sound with this single mic. Now that we've refreshed our memory on the mic position and that kit, let's take a listen to just that drum track. A couple obvious things right out of the gates. The first is room sound. When you have a single microphone, the room or space that you're in is going to have a huge impact on the overall tone. It's going to be baked in the whole sound. There's nothing you can do about it. So you can either leave it wide open, and in this case you can definitely hear some room. You can make it really dead so there's less reflections, but either way, your space is part of your sound. Next, you can see I was not playing all that hard. And that's really important because the drummer really has to be the mixer when you're using any minimal mic setup, especially when it's only one mic. And then there's the ride cymbal. When you have a mic placed in front of the kit like that, it's staring directly at that ride cymbal, which can be another tricky thing for a drummer to try to control the volume of that so it doesn't take over your entire sound. Now, your mileage is going to vary. It's going to depend on your style of music and what you want to hear. Now we covered the big topics, let's take a listen to this in the context of the music. All right, so that's actually not a bad position to capture the whole kit. There's definitely some kick drum, which is important. The snare and the cross stick both come out. The rack tom obviously jumps. The floor tom gets lost a little bit, but a little automation might make up for that. But when it hits that B section, In context, the ride cymbal actually feels louder to me than when I have the drum soloed. So the first thing I would probably do there, so let me turn the automation on because I have an EQ that comes on this B section here. And all I'm doing is trying to mitigate some of the attack and a little bit of the not so pleasant sound of the ride that's coming through in our single mic setup. And that sounds like this. I'll just solo the drums. In context. And all this is doing is I'm just trying to maybe push it back a little bit without totally wrecking the tone or really affecting any other cymbals that might happen. Now this automation goes off. Here, I'll show you where I have it on. It comes off going into the outro, right into that drum fill. So I actually leave it on for those last couple cymbal hits because I feel like I hit them a little harder than I should have. Okay, so that's the first thing, just kind of trying to deal with that ride cymbal. Now the second thing you can do, and I've already done a little bit here, I did some experimenting earlier. Go back to this A section real quick, I'm just gonna solo the drums. We can try to bring out a little bit more of that kick drum with some low end EQ. Let me turn this top off first, and I'll actually kill this. There's already a nice point on that kick drum, so I just wanted to try to bring that out just a little more. But if you like more sub, you could just sweep the EQ. Ooh, that's pretty nice too. Let's hear this in context. I'm just gonna loop A. Remember, we only have one mic, so whatever EQ you're doing is affecting every piece of the kit. So if you say wanted to go put some 200 into the snare drum and make it big and beefy, that's gonna be pulling that 200 into your kick drum and all your toms. So you really have to decide what you wanna pull out of the kit and be very diligent about just going after that. The other thing I wanted to try to pull out a little bit more was just the snare drum. This gets tricky because any boost up in a spot that would be good for a snare is gonna bring that ride cymbal right out as well. I'm gonna leave our boost on the kick drum and then I'll turn the snare on after a couple bars. That helps open up the snare a little bit, but let's go to the B section where our pesky ride cymbal is. Now you could sweep the EQ around here as well, but I chose to stay just a little bit lower than maybe I normally would to try to bring the snare out a little while not affecting that ride cymbal at the same time. So let's hear things in context. I'll turn the EQ on and off, starting with no EQ. Actually, those two EQ moves help quite a bit actually to bring the kick out, bring the snare forward, kind of just fills it out a little bit more. The EQ that is automated here on the B section does a nice job of just pushing the ride cymbal back so it doesn't take over too much. So that's one way that you can try to get more out of your single mic, but placement becomes important because if that microphone is in a spot that's not really getting any kick drum, you can try to boost low end all day long and it's just gonna be a sloppy mess. That's also why I chose to stay up at that 94 where it's a little bit more of a a tacky low end than a subby low end because I didn't want it to get flabby and lose any definition. Another thing we can do is add a little bit of compression. I have the IGS tube core over here set up, which I love on drums. It's nice and round, but it also thickens things up just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the EQ on as well. So let's listen to just the drums with the compressor. Here's without it. With it. I'm not trying to squash it. I just like how that compressor adds a little bit of weight and just makes the whole drum sound a little bit more confident. So let's hear that in context. All right, so front of the kit can be a great spot. So whatever space you're in, take some time, put that mic out there, move it around a little bit, find that optimal position that lets you get the whole kit, and at that point it's all up to the drummer. But if you capture enough of the kit, a few EQ moves, a little bit of compression, and you have a nice drum sound happening.